Hey everyone, it's Ray Clark. I am a student at SUNY Canton, cybersecurity major, and today's video we're talking about the proposal for our cybersecurity lab coming up within the next year or so. Now SUNY Canton is a technology school located in Canton, New York, and recently we've opened up a new cybersecurity program, which is a Bachelor of Science as well. So it's a four-year program, and it focuses on learning about cybersecurity and ethical hacking, technology penetration, that kind of stuff. And it's really going to be a big focus of the school in upcoming years. Now, the campus itself is quite large, so there's plenty of room to, if we need to, make an entirely new building for the cybersecurity lab, or we already have the current Neville building that we can put a lab in there as well, where all our other computer labs are. Now, our current labs, however, are simple because they're just meant to be computer labs, but we won't want that specific to cybersecurity. So as we go through this video, we'll talk a little bit about policies, layouts, and potential designs of that cybersecurity lab. Now, the first thing we'll want to talk about, obviously, are the policies for the cybersecurity lab. There is a policy set already for SUNY Canton, but it's their basic computer use and network policy, which really covers the whole campus for faculty, staff, and students. Now, the basic idea of that policy is, basic security, keeping your password safe, not handing out your account, not letting anyone else use your account, signing out of the computer when you're done with it, all that kind of stuff. Technology maintenance, device maintenance. But for cybersecurity and the lab, we would need a specific policy to cover the cybersecurity students that are using the computers in the lab. The thing is, it would follow a lot of the SUNY Canton computer use and network policy. It'd be quite similar, except for a few different things here and there. So keeping passwords, account logins secret is a big deal. One of the other policies would be to keep the students up to date on cybersecurity news and current events, because there's always changes happening within cybersecurity and the technology, whether it's a new hacking software or a new kind of virus or a malware or something like that. And really the only way to kind of either manipulate those things or counter those things is to learn about it, whether through lessons or on their own. Probably the biggest policy, though, would be following everything that needs to be followed with ethical hacking. Now, ethical hacking is really what the whole program is about, and it's really what the whole program is teaching us. The biggest form of that is when we go to perform our hacking, we want both parties to have full knowledge of the hack, of what's going on, and you have to have complete consent of your victim, per se. And it can only be done really to learn and for knowledge, and not for causing any kind of havoc or mayhem within the servers. So by following those policies, then the cybersecurity lab will be completely secure and safe for the students and the faculty and the staff. So now you might think to yourself, well, why are cybersecurity students so special, and why do they get their own lab? Well, the school is completely capable of providing a full-fledged cybersecurity lab, because last year the esports arena was developed, and it had its grand opening only months after that. Now the esports arena is comprised of 24 Alienware computers, backlighting, LED lights, TVs, PlayStations, Xboxes, all that kind of stuff. So the funding and the money is there, and the cybersecurity program is really the perfect reason to kind of invest into this program and that sort of field, because it's one of the most technologically advancing ideas out there, and it's really a good idea to invest into a specific room for these students to go in and, you know, be able to practice their hacking or their defense skills, or just their basic computer knowledge and computer skills in a place where they feel safe and secure with like-minded people, which is really essentially what the esports arena was as well. So it'd be a really fantastic idea. Personally, I think it would just be easy to put it in a room, much like the arena was. We don't really need a whole entire building for that, but it is one of those things that is very important to the program and important to the students involved, because with something like that, you know, taking down a guy like this involves a lot of communication and a lot of typing and that kind of stuff, and we need a spot specifically to sit down and possibly work for hours on end to figure out the counters to these attacks and the attacks themselves. So with that, what we want to do now is really look at possible layouts and ideas of what the lab could look like. Now, the idea of the cybersecurity lab can sound kind of cliche. When you think of cybersecurity lab, you probably think of, you know, TV shows or movies that you've seen, like CSI or that kind of stuff, and it's a lot of, you know, they're dark and there's blue lighting and that kind of stuff, which is a great idea, but it doesn't always necessarily work. The main thing that we want to focus on is that the campus needs really a safe and secure area with plenty of devices meant only for cybersecurity. And we want an area where we can work without interruption, and not have to worry about anyone that's not in the cybersecurity program kind of coming in and messing around with the computers. Now, the other idea is that we want plenty of devices to either attack or defend. So that includes PCs, a couple probably Mac computers, iPads, Android phones or tablets or whatever, because hackers and viruses and that kind of stuff don't always just attack one kind of device. They're usually spread out onto multiple devices. So if we have those available and we know how to use them, then it's a lot easier for when we go out into the field to know the proper techniques to protect them. So one of the first ideas that I had for the layout of the lab is kind of like the Kaspersky lab, where it's a circular table, I guess, and all the computers are laid out on that table, and everything just kind of is focused onto the center. And that way it's easy to connect all the computers together with the devices and all that kind of stuff. And you'll also have some screens, so you'll always see current news or statistics and that kind of stuff. And it's a really effective way to keep everyone in the same area and kind of talking with each other. SUNY Orange, actually, in Middletown, New York, already has a current cybersecurity lab, and it's more simplistic, which is fine, and it's also a decent layout as well. So really, in the end, it's going to be kind of the layout of our lab is going to be a combination of kind of other labs. So they have these big TVs that display the news and all that kind of stuff. And the way that the tables are laid out are actually very effective as well, because the wiring isn't interfering with anyone else or anything like that, and everyone is close to each other for communication, which is really one of the big ideas of the lab. Is we want communication and we want teamwork, and you want really the most effective layout to complete that. Now, you don't want the physical layout of the lab to get too cliche either. So you don't want it to completely look like it's out of a TV show or a movie. You can take those basic concepts and put it into a lab, because you want a lab that the students will feel that they can enjoy and feel safe in, as I previously mentioned. And but on that same note, the aesthetics of the lab should also be kind of visually appealing, and it should also make you feel like you're actually in a real lab. So something like the lab at Mercyhurst University, it's very technologically advanced, and it almost feels spacish, which is a great idea. It might be a little over the top, a little extreme for our campus, but for Mercyhurst it works because it fits in with their aesthetic, right? So toning that down a little bit and combining it with the other ideas that we proposed, it could make for a really cool layout that the students will enjoy being in, and it'll make them feel like they're really part of the cybersecurity idea, and that feels like they really have a full involvement in the program, which overall is really the idea of the lab. And along with the layout of the National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence in Rockville, Maryland, you also want a lot of servers and stuff to connect with your devices, so that you can also practice attacking or defending servers as well. So really it's a combination of already existing cybersecurity labs and putting them into our lab. And when done right, I think it'll be a really cool thing to get the students into and really get them to fully enjoy the lab. So along with the physical lab, we also will want to have our cybersecurity cloud, or our virtual lab. That way it's a separate area to kind of do our testing and our hacking tests and that kind of stuff. Now it's also going to need its own policy, and this one is only for cybersecurity students. And the biggest thing on that as well is ethical hacking, also maintaining self-security, appropriate uploads and downloads, that kind of stuff. And really what we want it to be is connection for all the available devices in the room, and it'll provide activities, labs, instructional videos, really to get the knowledge out and provide the information for completely safe hacking and defending. And really all of this put together is just so that we can learn how to protect from attacks, but also how to infiltrate sensitive information when needed. And really putting it all together, it'll just provide a complete experience, and it'll really fortify the knowledge that we're learning in the classroom, and giving us a really hands-on experience with the cybersecurity program and all the technology that will be available to us in the field. So if done right, the lab and the layout it'll really be effective for all of the students to completely enjoy the aesthetic and the technology, and really kind of get a new love for computers, and really let them look forward to the future.